Hello and thank you for joining us. My name is Amanda. Today we discuss trauma and how it impacts our lives. In our previous video on what mental health is, we learned about mental health, anxiety, depression, and simple coping skills you can use. In this video, we will talk about trauma. Trauma is our body's way of telling us that something is wrong. It can happen because we experience very difficult events in our lives that we have very little or no control over. Trauma can be caused by many things. Experiencing war and separation from our family can be sources of trauma. The source of our trauma is not always as obvious. Identifying our traumatic experiences can often feel like searching for a light switch in the dark. However, the first step in healing is figuring out what we need healing from. Trauma can be experienced differently by different people. First, trauma can be chronic. Chronic trauma means that the trauma happens over and over again. With racism, racist experiences that happen throughout a person's life are a source of chronic trauma. Trauma can also be more acute. Acute trauma means that the traumatic event only happened one time. This could be a death in the family, a tornado ruining your home, or a car accident. Finally, trauma can be complex. Complex trauma means that a combination of events over a long period of time cause trauma. Many refugees have complex trauma because of the events that occurred to them before coming to the US. Resettling in a new country is a traumatic experience. Experiencing racism, learning English, and adjusting to an entirely new culture continues to add stress to a person's trauma. Understanding trauma is important because if trauma is not dealt with, it can impact how we interact with the world. This can have a major impact on your mental health and lead to feelings of powerlessness, fear, and depression. Sometimes trauma can lead to PTSD. PTSD stands for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. PTSD can lead someone to avoid thinking about what has happened to them. It can also cause flashbacks to negative events from the past, which can be hard to deal with. PTSD can make you feel like the event is happening all over again and cause panic attacks. PTSD can cause physical symptoms such as a racing heart, dizziness, trouble sleeping, paranoia, and poor concentration. It can make you feel like you need to escape or have negative thoughts about yourself such as, I'm a failure, I'm not safe, or I can't do this. Living with PTSD can be exhausting. People with PTSD can benefit from mental health therapy so they can learn new ways of coping and methods of healing from their trauma. To understand PTSD, we need to understand our brain's reaction to danger. Imagine that you are in a jungle and you see a tiger. Your first thought might be to run, but you realize that you cannot outrun a tiger. Next, you may think to fight the tiger, but again, you realize the tiger is too big and dangerous. So your only option is to freeze and hope the tiger leaves you alone. In dangerous situations, people usually run, fight, or freeze. Even if you never see a tiger again, this memory is stored in your brain and body forever. And sometimes these memories are stored away before you can understand what happened to you. When this occurs, you can be triggered by things in your world that remind your body and brain of the tiger. Imagine that you are now walking in your neighborhood and you see an orange cat. You might suddenly notice that your heart is beating faster and you feel like running, just like you felt in the jungle. Understanding how our brains work can help us understand how we process and deal with trauma. When we are young, our brain is not fully developed. When we grow up in a loving home with adults who care for our needs, our brains develop and grow. Think of your brain like a hand. Your wrist is the brainstem. The brainstem is responsible for basic things like breathing and keeping your heart pumping. This part of your brain develops first. The next part of your brain is represented by your thumb. This part of your brain is the emotional part. It helps you to stay safe. It is responsible for sensing danger and telling your body to act quickly. The last part of your brain to develop is the prefrontal cortex. Your fingers are like that prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain that helps you understand what is going on in the world around you. It helps you make decisions, it's logical, it helps you problem solve. The prefrontal cortex can tell you if the cat on the street is something to be scared of. When you sense danger, the emotional part of your brain takes over and your thinking brain cannot work as quickly. It is harder to communicate and it is harder to be logical and problem solve. This is why it is hard to make good decisions when we are upset. The emotional part of our brain has taken over the thinking part of our brain. There are exercises to keep the thinking part of our brain working and in control. We can take deep breaths slowly, in through our nose and out through our mouths, as if blowing through a straw. We can seek support from the people we trust around us. We can talk to our friends and our pastors and our coworkers. When a relationship is good and reliable, being with those people can help our brain calm down and problem solve again. We hope this video is helpful. For more videos like this one, please click subscribe on YouTube and share our videos with your friends and family. Thank you for watching.